Hi, everybody. I hope you guys are all doing well. It's me, Joshua Henry, and I just wanted to touch base, say hello, review a few things from last week, and look ahead to next week a little bit. Well, I actually live in South Carolina, pretty close to Myrtle Beach, just a bit south of it, and I am preparing to evacuate for Hurricane Florence tomorrow morning. So I am recording this video a little bit earlier than I anticipated, but I will still be reviewing all the same things I would have otherwise. I want to note I've seen a lot of great work this week already, and I think the majority of you are really learning and understanding the material and concepts. Few of you struggling a little bit, but I'm heartened by the general direction and that everyone's learning quite a bit seems to be the indication to me. I hope you guys are taking pride in the fact that you are already able to understand things that you were previously not able to understand, and that you're able to understand things that people who have never studied accounting just have no clue about, and it's totally foreign to them. To you, being exposed to the language of accounting, you understand that there is real, meaningful, substantive, actionable information conveyed by the financial accounting. And so that's great. That's exciting. I want to share a couple of thoughts on last week's work and then give a look ahead to next week's a comprehensive problem that we'll be beginning. There are three parts to the comprehensive problem. You will be beginning the first part to the comprehensive problem Sunday the 16th. And in addition to that, in your normal work, you're going to be continuing where you left off in your textbook on Chapter 5, where you'll be studying closing entries and adjusting entries and permanent and temporary accounts. As you did last week, check out the videos provided by Baypath under the To Do tab, and then also go to the textbook that's online. And as you see, I pulled up that screen right here. Here's Chapter 5 with subsections 5.1 through 5.4. Check out the video prepared by the author of the textbook right here that you see on the page that you're looking at, and I think you'll find that helpful as well. One of the things we talked about last week is that there are rules to accounting, just like there are to any other language, and you did hear briefly about GAAP or GAAP, Generally Accepted Accounting Principles. GAAP is simply a set of rules required by the SEC for publicly traded companies that they prepare their accounting statements in alignment with generally accepted accounting principles. Having a set of rules that publicly traded companies follow is really important because it puts in place a systematized, repeatable set of rules by which makes it easier for comparing companies for comparison purposes. Also, it provides a set of standards that gives companies less flexibility in deciding what they want to show and what they want to hide, thus creating more transparency for the investor and the reader of the financial statement and less opportunity for fraud on the part of the company preparing the financial statements. Among other things, GAAP requires accrual accounting because, as many of you so rightly noted, accrual accounting does provide a better picture of the actual performance of a company. Okay, looking ahead to part one of the comprehensive problem you will be starting this week. You will be using Excel, Microsoft Excel exclusively to do the project, and as you will see in the directions, we want to use formulas as much as possible and avoid hard coding or typing the data directly into the cell to the extent possible. A lot of you demonstrated some knowledge of Excel this last week on your week one solutions to the problem set. And I'll give you a little bit more of an example of what you're looking for just to make sure you have a handle on it. And also, looking at the assignment, you're going to be asked to record some journal entries, post the journal entries to the T accounts, and complete a trial balance. Some of the things you started doing last week, but getting a little bit more into it this week. I wanted to remind you, for the trial balance, there are certain accounts that you're supposed to list before others. So there is a sequence that is necessary, and the accounts that should be listed first are first asset accounts, then liability accounts, equity accounts, dividend accounts, revenues, and then expenses. And I should note, even within asset accounts, the asset accounts that should be listed first are the ones that are the most liquid, and then moving on down to the ones that are the least liquid. The most liquid asset account would certainly be cash, and then the next most liquid would be the the account that will be converted to cash at the soonest period of time. The least liquid would be like a property, plant, and equipment, a long dated, like perhaps a commercial piece of real estate that would be expensed over 39.5 years. And then within liability accounts, start off with the shortest maturity dates and then move along to the longest maturity dates. The shortest maturity date might be a short-term loan like commercial paper, and then the longest dated liability might be a 30-year bond, perhaps. First part of your assignment for part 1 of the comprehensive problem is to enter some journal entries. Each of you, to complete this assignment, will be receiving a unique ID. In this case, I use 65 as our unique ID, and you'll be receiving that, and to determine some amounts of some transactions, you'll be receiving maybe some multiple of that unique ID or some other calculation related to that unique ID. In this case, for the utilities expense, clicking on that cell, they said to use 500 times the unique ID. So 500 times 65 would be 32,500, and we used formulas to figure that out rather than just figuring it out on our calculator or in our heads and then typing 32,500 in there. We use formulas, and then on this side right here, we just pointed at this cell. So it's the same amount. It equals D6 because this cell right here is D6. And on this other transaction, the company is receiving cash. It's raising capital by selling common stock. And so shareholders receive common stock and they pay the company cash. And so that transaction happens that way. Common stock is credited, cash is debited because cash increases. The second part to this assignment is to post the journal entries to the T accounts, which we started right here. As you'll see, we have a T account for utilities, one for cash, one for common stock. There's only one transaction here that impacts utilities, and so that's self-explanatory. We enter that in there. It's a debit. We total it down here, so we have a debit balance on the utilities. Cash is a little bit more involved. There's 2 transactions, but since the debits are clearly higher than the credits, we're going to have a debit balance on this. To enter that in there, the formula is equals sum. I'll show you right here, equals sum. We'll select these cells right here, close parentheses, minus sum of these cells right there, enter, and we have a debit balance of $617,500. Now for common stock, there's only one transaction that impacts that T account, and that is where we raise capital. We have a credit there, and so we're going to naturally have a credit balance. I'm just going to hit Alt equals, it selects that there. We have $650,000. $650,000 credit balance. The final part to this assignment is to complete a trial balance. As you'll see over here, there are some requirements involved: company name, exactly what the statement is, and for what time period. And we just have our 3 different accounts in the order that we talked about before. Since there are only 3 different accounts, the asset one comes first. Cash is an asset, then equity, common stock is an equity account, and then we have our expense account. And instead of entering the money in here, the exact data, we point towards another cell. So instead of typing that in there, hit equals, and we go to our cash balance. Our cash balance is a debit, $617,500. Enter that there. And we do the same for common stock and utilities. Total that up, total there, and you'll see the balance, $650,000, and the balance over here, $650,000. They balance out. Hope that helps you guys. Good luck, everyone, doing the assignment. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. All right, take care. Bye.